On today's episode, we're going to talk about what type of recovery is out there. Now, you've heard me talk about the type of recovery from drugs and alcohol, substance addiction, process addiction, but then there's the recovery that some of us are in, and that's the recovery of having loss. When we talk about recovery, everybody's in some kind of recovery. I mean, everybody has something they're going to bring to the table, the foot of the cross, whatever you want to say. But on today's episode, I've got the Wingate family. I've got Brooke, I've got Davis, and I've got Mr. Garrett here with me. I'm so thankful for this family to come here, all the way from the big state of Georgia.
All the way, South Georgia.
But, Brooke, why don't you start? And listen, when you're talking to this audience that's going to be listening to you, I want you to put us in the room with you as you're telling the story, okay?
Okay.
And I'd like to go back to the room you were in when you guys met. Can you remember, how did you guys come together?
High school. Well, we met in high school.
Met in high school.
I was a freshman. He was a senior. He hardly knew I existed.
I did.
That's a big age difference, so when you're in high school.
It is. But we didn't date in high school. That's where we first met. Of course, he had the blue eyes and tall and a farmer. So I was locked in.
Yeah, I mean, those Georgia girls, they like that.
Yeah. But it was actually 7 years later when we met up one night. I was out eating with some friends. He was out at the same restaurant eating with some friends. And we sat there for like 6 hours that night, just talking. And we were engaged in 6 weeks, and we were married in 6 months. Like I just knew.
Okay, pass.
Does your recollection of that whole event?
Yeah, that's it.
Knew each other in high school.
Didn't
date then. Met through some friends at a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Later
7
on.
years later.
Yep.
5 weeks or 6 hours worth of talking.
6 hours of talking.
5 weeks of courting. 6 weeks of courting. 5 months. I do.
Married.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I was in 2 rooms. I was in biology class with you, and I was at Applebee's. I don't know what restaurant, but that's just where I went. So tell me from that day forward, though, what...
It was not Applebee's, I'm just going to say.
You didn't get the 2 for 20?
No.
All right, but tell me, guys, like, this is the lovey-dovey part of your story. You know, you guys meet, get together, get married. You knew right away you wanted to have kids. Talk to us about when you guys decided to start having children. Was that well, let me be careful how I ask that. Was it 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months, or did you start right away?
We did.
Okay.
Yeah.
We did.
Okay.
And I'll say it. We didn't do things biblically correct back in those days.
That is not why we got married,
No.
though. Just want to say that.
Our life was
listeners
not,
need to hear that, and your pastor.
Our life was not, following Jesus at that time. We was following the world, and we were engaged on March 4th, I think. I actually engaged on a day I probably made her the maddest of our whole marriage. I made her try on wedding dresses, and we wasn't even engaged yet. I was
That made you mad?
Yeah,
It was weird.
She was embarrassed.
I'm like, why am I doing
But all
this?
the girls,
I don't even have
the
a
ladies
ring.
knew.
Yeah,
Because I showed them the ring.
He did have to go get fitted for a tux. That's why we were there.
I said,
And then
well,
he was like, why don't you just try on a dress? I'm like, that is so stupid.
Yeah.
I don't even have a ring.
But you had a
No.
reason to be there for the tux, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But
Yeah, we wasn't quite that weird.
Okay.
but we did. She got pregnant after we got engaged.
Yeah.
And we kind of rushed the wedding on a little bit, but I mean, it wasn't.
It's part of your story.
It wasn't by the book per
Close
se,
to it,
but
though.
it was close. But
You're in there in Psalm somewhere.
But we took things as they came, for the first several years, and played the world's game, and it almost broke us.
Yeah.
There was a lot of ups and downs, and more downs than there was ups.
Now, this was full-time farming is what you were doing at the time?
Yes. Well, when we got married, I left the farm, trying find bigger, better things. Farming for your dad, small farm. Money wasn't great. I was cheap labor. I love him to death, but I was cheap labor. But he wanted me to go off and do better things, but I tried a few other jobs and ended up going back.
You always come back home.
I always came back home, and then I loved to cook, so then I pursued that for a few years, and I mean it was good except for the help.
Yeah.
Finding good help in small towns real hard.
Yeah.
But then took over the farm when he retired for a year, and then I got a job offer with a big farmer, and that was 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's what you do now?
That's what I do, yeah.
And how about you, Miss Brooke? What do you do for a living, and then before you became a mom and got married and all the things? Tell me a little bit about you.
I am in education now. Before I got married, just working dead-end jobs. Always knew I wanted to be a mama. That was one of my big dreams. I mean, even when I was a little girl, I wanted to be a school teacher and a mama.
Yeah.
So
sounds like my wife. She would still be a school teacher, but she's not. But she loves being a mama.
Yeah.
She really does.
So I have been with the same school system for 15 probably years. So
what grade do you teach?
I actually work with special ed, and I'm in a special ed program, and we serve K through 12. I'm the behavior support specialist, and I do groups with all the students. So I have K through 12.
That's a special calling on your life right there.
Real special.
Yep. All right. Now this handsome young fellow down here on the end, who we got with us?
This is our 16-year-old son, Davis. He is the biggest blessing that we never knew we ever needed.
I was fixing to go there. I'll let you tell it.
When we found out we were having a boy, I was content. Garrett had his son. He was content.
Well, I said I always wanted two.
Two boys?
Two
kids in general.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But when we had Garron, I told her, I said, the way this world's going, I feel like it's injustice bringing a kid into this world.
I was afraid I couldn't love another child like I love Garron, so that's why I just only wanted one. I was like, it's not fair to bring another human when I can't. I know I can't.
Why did you say that?
I just didn't think I could share the love that I had for Garron with another baby, another child. But God's plans are far greater than ours, and He knows far better than we know.
Now, is that something you just tell yourself and you start to believe it, or is that like a postpartum thing, or?
Don't really know.
I don't really know.
I just didn't know.
She found out quick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Greatest blessing I never knew I ever needed.
Okay. I mean, we wasn't trying for him. I mean, and actually it was about 3 years to the date when we found out we was pregnant with him.
Really?
Yeah.
Their birthdays was only a week or so apart.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. All right, big guy. I heard you like to play the guitar left-handed. Do some other things.
Yeah.
But how old are you? And tell us a little bit about you.
16, sophomore in high school, or junior in high school. And
hey, I messed things up too. I didn't get your name right 3 times. So you get whatever grade you want to be in.
That's right.
I actually delivered bread with my granddad, her dad.
Okay.
And I just started that. I took over Garron's position.
Okay.
And I picked up the guitar, a year ago now?
Yeah.
Probably.
And
on his own.
I've always loved music. I played the drums as a kid, and I've always loved the guitar. Garron, he played the guitar for just a few months, and I was always left-handed, so I could never use his. So
yeah.
You can't just turn those upside down either.
But you swap strings.
Yeah, and that's what I ended up doing. Garron's buddy gave me a guitar. I just switched the strings around, and then a few months ago, he went out and bought me an actual left-handed guitar, and I just beat around on it for a few months. But after losing Garron, I started pursuing it. I started writing my own music.
That's good, man. That's your outlet. I mean, that could be like an outlet for a lot of people.
He's written a bunch of songs.
Yeah. So I don't want to take a hard shift, but I got a shift. The reason I wanted you guys to tell a little bit about yourself is because the rest of our conversation is going to be about Garron. which includes us, you know, but everybody on this planet needs to hear when a young adult makes that kind of an impact on somebody else's life. Okay, so I need to let our listeners know that I came across this family on a TikTok that someone sent me, my wife, and so I'm sorry, Kristen sent this to me, but this is important because. This is important for people to hear, because this is how God gets kind of intertwined in things. When you try people that don't have a belief, they just that's weird thing happened. Well, this isn't a weird thing.
No, absolutely not.
She sent me a video that you put up. I think it was on TikTok. Am I right? It was. Mm-hmm. What about that video? And before we get into Garron, because I don't remember exactly, but what about that video made you go viral? Do you remember?
It was me telling the story of his accident.
Okay. Tell us the story of his accident, and then I want to talk about Garron of who he was.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and grab Kleenex.
Okay.
So take one, pass them down.
Okay. Yep.
So,
thank you.
March 28th, close to midnight, we're both asleep. I'd sent Garron a Snapchat at 10:30 of...
You got a lot of mom apps.
I do.
Snapchat, TikTok?
Yeah.
Okay.
We figured
that's how I was able to communicate with my children and see what all they were doing. But anyway, I
love it.
He loved Ella Langley, a country music singer, and she had a boykin, and we have a boykin. Like Garron's always loved boykin dogs. Mm-hmm. Well, I found a picture of her and her boykin, and I sent it to him on Snap. And he didn't open it. He was out of town. He was in Statesboro visiting his girlfriend. Her roommate's birthday was the next week, so they were celebrating her birthday, just had a little get-together at their house. And
Southern, right?
Georgia Southern, yes.
Southern. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So he never opened the Snap, which that wasn't unusual, for him to open it the next day. I didn't think anything about it. So we're asleep, and I wake up hearing Garrett on the phone, and I said, "Who was that?" And he said, "That was Jim. Jim's our preacher." And I said, "What did he want?" And he said, "I don't know. He's in our driveway." Well, I'm trying to wake up, trying to, process what this could mean. I grabbed my phone and look at Life 360, and thank God I didn't zoom in on it, because I clicked Garron and it just showed where he was in Statesboro. So I didn't really think a whole lot into it. So I said, "Do I need to go downstairs with you?" And he said, "Well, this can't be good. Our preacher's at our house at midnight. Mm-hmm. You probably need to come." So I'm scrambling around still, trying to get my thoughts. I got to find some yoga pants or short. I got to find something, And
I'm trying to turn my thoughts away from Garron, even though that was the first thoughts.
Because the preacher didn't tell you what you need to come.
When I answered the phone, he said, "Garrett, this is Jim." He said, "I'm in your yard. You need to come talk to me." And
okay.
I'm part of a men's group, a good men's group in our church, and that went through my mind too. Something happened to one of them.
Yeah.
So I start to come out of our bedroom and go downstairs, and I hear one of the guys that's with our preacher. It was our preacher and another guy. Say Garron, and he fell apart. So I come running downstairs, and I said, "What did you just say? What did you say? What did you say?" And our preacher Jim kind of met me. Our stairs come down. We have this little platform, and then they go down some more, and he met me on that platform and said, "Garron's had an accident at Georgia Southern. He was handling a firearm and accidentally shot himself in the face." I don't remember a whole lot. I remember going crazy. We had to go. I was we got to find a plane. We got to get somebody to fly us. We can't get there in enough.
How far are you from?
3 hours.
3 hours.
From Statesboro to your home?
To our home, 3 hours. And Garrett said, we can't. Like, his boss has a private jet. I said, call him. He said, baby, by the time I get him on the phone, he gets the pilot, they get it ready. Like, we could be there. We've just got to go. So we all throw on some clothes, and getting a phone call like that, and especially the circumstances, I had a bad feeling from the get-go. Mm-hmm. And I said, we cannot leave Davis. Like, get Davis up. He's going with us. And he said, baby, he's already in the truck. Like, I need you to come on. So
I went and woke him up before I went back upstairs. From
the time we got the phone call to the time we were pulling out of my driveway was 7 minutes. I did have mind enough to call my sister, and she called our parents. I feel so bad about putting that on her now, but that was just like my first thought was, I got to call my sister. Mm-hmm. And then I called my mom and told her. So my parents are divorced, so I have a mom and a dad and bonus parents.
Yeah.
So we get on the road, and I'm just praying. Like, I am praying, God, help my baby, save my baby. Don't, like, this cannot be happening, God. Help us. Well, we wasn't too far into the trip. I get sick, and, like, we're having to pull over because I'm sick, and I'm angry with myself because I'm trying to get to my child. Mm-hmm. And anyway, so we
just all the emotions you're dealing with.
Yes, absolutely.
Thoughts.
Yeah.
And it was so weird because at 12:31, I don't know why, I looked at the clock, and I knew he was gone. Like, I can't explain it. That's honestly when I started getting sick. Was I just had this feeling that he was already gone, and we were trying so hard to get there. Well, we were about an hour and a half from Statesboro.
But keep in mind, we haven't heard from nobody in Statesboro.
Mm-mm.
No hospital.
You don't have anybody there?
No law enforcement.
Like, we didn't get any kind of phone calls from anybody. And let me back up. The way our preacher found out, his niece it was her birthday coming up. His niece Chandler and Garron's girlfriend Ada they still live together. So Chandler called her parents, and her daddy and our preacher are brothers, and he called our preacher. Gotcha. So that's how he found out before we knew. And I'll get into this later, but with the situation, it was an active investigation. So the girls could not contact us. They were told, do not contact.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And that was just because it was an open, active investigation. Like, at that point, everybody was kind of considered a suspect. Like, they didn't really know what had happened. So we did later find out that there was a local deputy coming to our house to tell us, but we left before they could get there.
And he was glad because
he didn't want to do that.
Well, his boy and Garron played ball together. We knew each other for a long time. He was a friend.
A friend of ours. Yeah. So we're an hour and a half away, and the phone rings, and it's a 912 area code. And I said, answer it. That's the hospital. And he answers the phone, and the person on the other end said his name, which to this day I can't tell you what the name was. He said, I am the coroner from Bullitt County. So we were told nonchalantly over the phone that our child was gone. Like, didn't ask, are you headed to the hospital? Like, he's gone. And I just remember screaming, and I ended up hanging up on him because I was just in shock. No, I think I hung up on him when we said, what happened? And his assumption was that he was drunk at a party. He was at a birthday party with a few people. His assumption was he was drunk at this party, pulled out his gun, and was waving it around, and it went off. So I just hung up on him because I didn't want to hear that. And, we think we know who our children are when they're not around us, but really we don't know. So that was what we thought had happened.
That's important for people to hear.
Yeah.
That's important for people to hear because when we have had people on the podcast before, they talk about drinking. Mm-hmm. Like when I've told my story, my first time drinking was at 13, 14, 15. Mm-hmm. And you're right. I mean, not every kid's like that.
Right.
But you guys don't know who we are when we're out there.
No, absolutely not. So we pull over on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere. It's the three of us. We lose our minds. I call my parents. He calls his parents.
Call the preacher.
And which we didn't know it, but our preacher, like, he tried to drive us. And Garrett, like, I think the only thing he could control at that point was the vehicle and getting there. So he wanted to drive.
Speed control.
Right, right. So we called all of our parents and told them, you know, that he had passed. And I said, I need to call Dory. Dory is my best friend, and her husband is Garrett's best friend, and her son and Davis are best friends. Like, I did not need them to hear from anybody else. Wow. So I called her and told her, and we were told just to go to the sheriff's department. So we load back up, we go to the sheriff's department. The deputy was so nice. He said that it really looked like it was an accident. He said, you know, there is an investigation. I don't know for sure. It does look like it was an accident. And let me back up one more time, too. There was so many questions on my TikTok about why didn't the girls call us? Yeah. And like I said, it was because it was an active investigation. But
and they probably
Ada, yeah, I mean, they've experienced, like, Chandler did CPR on my child. Ada, his girlfriend, compressed his wound. It went in through the cheek and out the temple, from what I've understood. The coroner told us we couldn't see him.
I didn't want to.
So, shouldn't see him. We later found out that we really could have, but how do you go in and see your child like that, you know?
That's a hard question for me to ask, did you?
Yeah,
you know?
No. I didn't want to see, I wanted to remember him alive and well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to remember him like that.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think, as a parent, I'm a parent,
Mm-hmm.
Nobody ever wants to deal with that situation, but what human part can you play
right
to help get you closure or some help? In my mind, I'm like, okay, I got to feel these emotions.
Yeah.
Is this a part of an emotion that I'm going to feel later on, like by seeing them?
Right.
So I get it.
Yeah. So, again, the guy at the sheriff's department was very nice, told us to call the investigator at 9 o'clock in the morning. Well, this is like 3:30. I'm like, what are we going to do? So we drive around for an hour looking for a hotel before we found one. We finally found one. So I call my best friend Dory back and told her we're leaving the sheriff's department. We don't know anything. They think it was an accident. We're going to find a hotel. And she said, well, I'm trying to get to you. And I said, don't come. Like, there's nothing. She said, oh, I'm an hour from you.
They already started coming.
She had my location, and her son and Davis shared their location with each other. She said, and Jim and Stephen are on the way too. So those were the two that came over and told us.
And Dory's husband's one of my best friends. So.
Yes. And his parents and sister and brother-in-law and niece were all in Atlanta. So when we told them the definite, they started heading towards Statesboro. So we all get in this hotel room and just wait and wait and wait for what seemed like ever.
Because you're going to a hotel, you're not going back to sleep.
No, absolutely not.
You just need a place to get out of the truck.
Right.
For a minute.
Right. So everybody gets there, we're waiting, and Garrett starts calling around 9 o'clock. Doesn't really get, I think he was told he hasn't come in yet. Well, then, and the main thing we were waiting on was getting his truck. Like, his truck was part of the investigation. They had towed it to the sheriff's department with his cell phone. So going back to me looking at Life 360, if I would have zoomed in on it, I would have seen that his phone was at the sheriff's department. So I'm just glad that that didn't happen. So, it rocks on. We rock on. It's 10:30, still nothing. So my brother-in-law and father-in-law go to the sheriff's department to just see if they can talk to somebody. Had no luck there. So my brother-in-law called our local sheriff from our hometown, explained what was going on, And he said, well, I know the sheriff. Let me call him. So when I got like all the details, 911 was called at 10:39 p.m. So this is 10:45-ish. This is a good 12 hours later. The sheriff knew nothing about this. Like there was a 19-year-old child involved in an accident that caused a death, and he didn't know. And that, I mean, I'm not blaming anybody. That's just odd to me. Well,
your story up to that point, and I'm not knocking Statesboro.
Right.
I guess what I'm saying is it seems like it'd be a better practice of policy or procedure or something. Okay.
Yeah, you would think so. I don't know what theirs is, but you would think so.
Like part of it would be bedside manner for a coroner.
Yeah.
Exactly. That shouldn't be something announced on a phone to traveling parents.
Yeah.
Or ever, in my
I feel
opinion.
like
it's the hardest news you're going to deliver to someone.
Yeah.
The
you
deputy
need to play that out.
or the hospital one should have called us to see where we were at. And then, I
don't even think they should have called to see where we're at. I think they should have called and said, your son's been involved in an accident.
Yeah.
You need to come to the hospital. Mm-hmm. Regardless of what because I later found out, like, it was instant. It was very instant. He didn't suffer, thank God. Mm-hmm. So we end up leaving. We had to leave the vehicle, which, at that point, I just had to get out of that town. Again, nothing personal to Statesboro. But at that point, Statesboro had taken my child from me, and I just had to get out of there.
I remember hearing my dad, my brother-in-law, Stephen Ramsey, Michael Reed, and all them talking behind me. Everything seemed kind of like in a barrel, just echoing. And I remember hearing one of them, or them talking about, we'll get the truck later. We'll drive back up there, whatever. And I remember telling me and her talk, so we got to get out of here. We just
had to go. So we decided that we were going to go and stay with my in-laws. They live right down the road from us. And because I just couldn't go home. Davis didn't want to go home. Like that was
going to be my next question. Like, what do you do as a couple?
Well, they shared a room.
Yeah.
So
what do you do as a couple for each other? But then you got your other baby.
Yeah.
You got to couple up, be mom and dad at the same time.
So we go to my in-laws. Like the next week is a blur. Obviously, let me back up. On the way home, we get a call from LifeLink about organ donating, and they are the ones that told us it was ruled an accident and he wouldn't require an autopsy. We still haven't heard from anybody at the sheriff's department.
How'd they know that, I wonder?
Because they saw the report.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that's right. So, and that was a decision that we had to make right then. Like, we had 45 minutes for the paperwork to be processed, or we wouldn't have been able to donate. Well, the guy was so nice. He was so respectful and kind, and I highly recommend LifeLink. Like, they have been wonderful to us. But he told us everything that he qualified for, and it was a lot.
Yep.
I don't want to get into too much detail, but I mean, it was full thickness skin, front, torso, back, full thickness skin, fronts and backs of legs. And my cousin was burned in a severe accident about 10 years ago, and 60% of his body needed skin grafts. So that was very important to us. Ribs, sternum, all the bones in his arms and his legs, eyes,
all of that can
cornea.
Be reused.
Yes.
We
Blood
didn't know that
vessels
either.
and heart valves. So a lot of people think with organ,
I thought it was just organs.
Yeah, they think that organ donating is like your heart, your kidneys, but your skin is an organ.
Yeah.
But they can also take the blood vessels and the bones, and that's why, like, they weren't able to use his heart and liver and things like that, but there are certain things that you can harvest up to 24 hours afterwards, and that's what he was eligible for.
How long did it take you to make that decision?
About 2 seconds.
We had that long to decide.
We looked at each other and were like, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, that's important. Like, we know a lot of people. We had a friend, she passed away from cystic fibrosis, but she had 2 double lung transplants. Like, organ donating is very important to me. And that's another way for him to still be able to live on and to help others even in death.
Yeah, I think it's important the way you say it that way. Is some people get to meet the person.
They got a year.
Yes,
they got a year.
Yeah, they cannot contact us for a year, but I pray.
That they do.
So if everybody else will pray with us.
Yes.
You want them to contact you?
Absolutely. Even if it's just one.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to hear their story, you know. So we get back to his parents' house finally, and I don't remember a whole lot. I mean, there was tons of people in and out.
There was a lot of people, a lot of support. Like I said, I have a strong men's group, and
that's great.
We've got a core of 4 of us that pretty much started it, and of course they were there. I mean, as long as they, you know, every time I turn around, I look for them.
And it's hard because I can look at you and tell, like, you're not just going to be soft-spoken. It's going to tell me everything I want to hear just when we hang out. But if we're in our small group setting of people you depend on, you kind of let your guard down and be yourself a little bit more, I guess.
I tell everybody, you know, they were there. What I feel like they were there for, them knowing me, they were there in case I needed them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they wasn't going to be standing behind me. They wasn't going to be coming up every 5 minutes asking, you okay? And one of them, I mean, he's like a mentor to me. Stephen Godley, he come up to me, he said, I don't know how you're doing it. He said, I'm over here, I can't quit crying, and you're checking on everybody else. Because Garron had a tight group of guys that were hurt. Mm-hmm. They 16 to 20 years old, and
I think we had 13 pallbearers, if I'm remembering correctly, and
have no clue how to process this. Mm-hmm. And I come to the peace that Garron's all right. You know, he is beyond safe now. Because I knew where his heart was. Those young guys, you know, I felt like I knew where their heart was. But when something like this happens, it'll harden your heart quick. Mm-hmm. Not weeks, months. I'm talking about within an instant, your heart. I feel like your heart could get hardened over God. And this was on a Sunday, that Sunday, and I was waiting on a good friend of mine, lifelong friend I grew up in church with. Him and another buddy, they were coming after church. And I met him in the yard, you know, and we just, you know, he got out and just crying. I was crying. And he hugged me. He said, I just want to let you know, he said, I've never seen a congregation pray like they did today. Everybody was on a knee. And that's about the time I felt that peace. And I changed my focus on him, her, and them guys. And because God told me that Garron's good.
And you needed to hear that.
And I needed to hear that.
That's really good. I remember I work for a church full time, still do, and my pastor Marty Baker, when we deal with these hard situations like this, he said, "Don't go in there and say anything stupid." And he's being real.
Yeah.
Don't. He said, "Not one of these people are going to remember anything you say.
No.
They just want to see you there."
That's
right.
And I think that gives me the peace when I'm doing even interviews like this. Yeah. I'm not going to say the perfect thing, but I get to be here with you when you're sharing this story.
Right.
Because the impact that it made on you guys in your family, the strength that y'all have. This happened in March. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's not even a year yet.
Mm-mm. Oh my God. Mm-hmm. I met a lady shortly after this, and I've always known who she was. She was, we're from the same town. They owned a dry cleaning business, Miss Janet Hammock, and
I know the family personally. So
I got to talking to her. So this happened the week before my spring break. So I had a hair appointment scheduled for my spring break. which was, after we had gone through the visitation and the service and everything. And my best friend Dory does my hair, and she said, there won't be anybody here. Like, if you want to keep the appointment, your first thing, like, you won't see anybody. It's fine. Well, Miss Janet was in there with her granddaughter, and I got to actually meet her and visit with her. And she's the one that told me, only God will get you through this. Only God can help you.
Were you ready to hear that yet, though?
I was in.
Because you can say that now, and I believe it.
Yeah.
But when you go through these different stages that you hear about,
I was
loss,
in such. I don't know what I was in.
You were in limbo mode.
I wasn't in denial. Like, I knew what had happened, but I wasn't in acceptance yet, I guess you can say. Like, I still didn't believe it.
Right.
But that really resonated with me that, I don't have to carry this. I don't have to try to figure it out. God's going to do all that for me. So it really did help me.
That's good.
In the moment. Yes.
That's a proof of your faith, too.
Yes.
Yep.
So we stayed with his parents for about a week. And let me back up. It was Sunday, probably mid-morning before we ever heard from an investigator. Like, that's still the crazy part.
No. I called the coroner.
The next day?
Sunday.
Because we still hadn't heard from anybody.
It might have been Saturday afternoon.
No, it was Sunday.
Sunday. Yeah. And I said, listen, man,
when a Southern guy starts with, listen, man, it's about to be a hard conversation.
I told him, I said, I hadn't heard from anybody. Nobody. I said, one, I'd like to know what happened to my son. Mm-hmm. I want to know if it was only him involved. I want to know if it was other folks involved.
Because at this point, we're still mad thinking he was drunk at a party waving a gun around. Like, that's literally the only thing we were told.
And he said, well, let me call the investigator. And it was less than 30 minutes. He called me back and he said, the investigator's going to be reaching out. So he reached out or whatever. And we talked, and he said it's, 100% accident. I said, well, what about the stuff, the truck, and his personal items? And he said, y'all come get it or whatever. And I had a good buddy, Ben Clayton. He was right there with us for us, and he hooked up his trailer. Yeah, it was Sunday because he was getting ready to go to church when I called him. He said, all right, I'm shifting gears. He hooked his trailer up and took off to Statesboro, loaded the truck up and brought it back. And, but I asked him because I knew even though it was an emotional time to him, I felt like him over a family member would have been better because he actually asked some questions. And he brought back some good answers, and
it was indeed an accident. There were a couple of eyewitnesses that said they were just talking about handguns. One of the roommates that lived with the girls had a pink one, and they were looking at it, and Garron said, oh, my mama's always wanted one of these, but my daddy says you can't defend yourself with a pink weapon. You need something that's camouflaged or something that's dark. And he made the comment that he had whatever kind of handgun he had. I don't even remember at this point, but it doesn't matter, I don't guess. But somebody else said, do you have it with you? He said, yeah, it's in the truck. Let me go get it. And he was attempting to unload it before he handed it off, and it just accidentally went off. Like, his toxicology was clean. That's what the guy that talked to Ben that night said, I want you to tell that mama, because they knew I was angry with him. I thought he had done something really stupid and caused this. And he said, I want you to tell that mama that alcohol did not play a factor in this. There was no drugs. Mm-hmm. This was just a freak accident. So then a few months later, we found out that this particular make and model, and I'm not going to say it because I don't want to get into, anything legal with them, but there was a recall on it for accidental accidental discharge and misfire.
Yeah. Called a drop fire.
So it was just a freak accident. But if this would have happened 3 years before, our story would be totally different. But when Garron was 16, he went to youth camp. He found the Lord. Like, it was really, my intuition is real. Like, it's a real thing. And he was a big baseball player. He wanted to play in college, and we were spending every weekend going to all these baseball camps. Like, I was doing whatever I could.
Oh, y'all did the travel ball thing?
We did all of that, but he did college showcases. That's a big glass of Kool-Aid to drink. That's a lot of dedication there. We were doing everything in our power to make his dream of playing college ball come true.
Now, we didn't get into it like some did. I mean, we kind of stayed local.
Oh, okay. Because they got some that tell you to be in Statesboro for practice on Monday and then meet us at the Moon on Tuesday for the game.
It wasn't quite like that. We stayed in like Georgia, Florida, Alabama, that area, but always were able to practice close to home. So, where was I going? Oh, yeah. So he was leaving on a Tuesday to go to youth camp. So that Monday morning, I was sitting there. It was during the summer. I was off doing my Bible study, and it was like God pinged me on the head and said, "You're doing everything you can to make sure he plays ball in college. What are you doing to make sure he finds me?" Like, it was loud and clear. We were churchgoers at the time, but we were churchgoers. You know, there's a big difference.
Like, are you the Super Bowl, Easter and Christmas attenders, or like
we were
a little more regular than that? Yeah.
Christmas, Easter, and other important holidays.
Mother's Day.
That's right. We were a little more than that. So I texted my sister. I texted my friends. I said, God has just laid it out for me. I need y'all to pray. Like, I need y'all to pray that God moves, that God works. And Garron was starting to ask questions. Like, I felt like his heart was being prepared. And maybe that's why God dropped it so hard on me. Like, this is partially your responsibility too, Mama, Daddy, you know. Well, he left, going to camp. And the next night he called me. And he said, "Mama, it's 10:30 at night." And I was like, "Yeah." He said, "I just wanted to let you know I got saved tonight. I got saved. Like, we were in there and they were talking, and I raised my hand and I went down front and I accepted the Lord, and we're going out to eat. We're going to celebrate. Bye. I love you." And I was like, I just started crying. I was like, "Thank you, Lord." Like, I felt it in my gut that was coming. So if this would have happened before that time, this would have been a totally different situation.
That's really good.
But like he said, we know where he is.
I could back up 2 years prior to that and kind of give you an idea why it was 3 years. Because, like I said, when we got married, church was a priority. Well, we tried one, didn't pan out. We went to I don't know if they consider themselves a mega church, maybe. It's a big church. I mean, 1,200.
It's not mega. I don't think.
In South Georgia, a 14,000 population town. I mean, 1,200 people at the first service and second service.
It is a large church.
Yeah, that's a large church.
And we really loved it. And I still have great friends there, and I mean, some of the best mentors as far as what a believer is supposed to be. And we spent 8 years there, and it got too big for me. I mean, I'm a small town guy. But we also got into travel ball. So then we spent a lot of years justifying that Sunday off. Well, we was out of town all last weekend. You know, we got to do this, we got to do that. We need to rest. And, you know, we hit and miss church for a few years. And Garron we was talking about church, and we visited a couple. But then he told us he said, "I'd like to go try Norman Park Baptist, where we go now." He said, "My friends are in the youth," and said
there's a lot of baseball players that he played with that went there.
So it was like, well, heck, I spent my high school years going to Norman Park because that's where my best friend lived. And Well, we went. We started going. Everything going good, and then COVID hit. And I was just getting my feet wet and getting involved, with the men's group, going to that, seeing what they were about. And COVID hit, shut everything down, of course. And then you get out of doing stuff. Well, then when they opened everything back up, we started going back to church, and there was some issues within the church going on. So I told her, let's just back out. We're not members. We don't really have a dog in the fight right now. Let's go check out some other churches. Well, we rocked on and made plans, dropped plans, made plans, dropped plans. And then we both was like, we're going somewhere this Sunday. So I listened to a lot of podcasts. Rick Burgess is one of my go-to. And like I tell everybody, me and him's actually got a similar story now. He lost a child, and that's kind of what brought him, or being a man of Christ is what saved him when he lost that child, what kept him focused on Christ. And so I just went to praying. That personal relationship with Christ is one of the main things you got to do before you could take any other step. And we talked Saturday night and said, we're going to church. Nobody asked where we were going. Sunday morning, got up, everybody got ready, was leaving, drivers. Brooke said, where we going? I said, Norman Park. I said, that's where God's telling me to go. And I mean, it popped off. Jim was a new preacher. He was actually filling in until they found one, and now he's our full-time preacher.
And this happened to be this was Jim that came to your house?
Yes.
He is, I've known him for years. He was in the school system for 30-something years. Great guy. He had his whole testimony with his faith. And so right off the bat, that first day, Stephen Ramsey come up to me. He said, man, I'm glad you're here. He said, man, this Stephen Godley, we've been talking. And I said, well, I need to talk with you too. And one of our observations is women are like running the church. That's all you see do things other than the preacher. And that ain't what it's supposed to be. The men need to be out front. They need to be doing stuff. And so we started the men group. And then I started meeting with Davis and his buddies, Garron and his buddies once a week. Little Bible study. I sat down and wrote a 8-week series out with those tough questions for teenage boys. Alcohol, sex, drugs, being a man of Christ, just a little bit of everything,
That filled your bucket too, didn't it?
Yeah. It was something I kept telling her that's what my heart was going to that age group of like 15 to 25, because that is an age that men or young men get lost. And it's sad to say, but they stay pretty focused from 15 to 18 while they're in youth in the church, if they're in the church. But once they graduate, a lot of churches don't have much for them. They're too young to go in that next Sunday school class. Nobody really has a class for them. They go off to college, they're only home every few weekends. And the world is that's what everybody says now to the real world. Yeah. And then when it grabs you, it holds on tight. And thank God that, and I tell them boys, I went through it and I come out the other end. A lot of these boys don't, and a lot of them struggle getting out of it.
It's hard.
I did catch a little bit of your testimony this morning. You was under an overpass or something in Augusta, and I was like, I got to listen to that whole thing now.
Yeah, there's a three-parter where I tell my story back in January, just so people that listen and the people that come on, they realize I'm not just some guy from Augusta just trying to talk about something. I haven't heard much from a guy down here on the end. Davis, you want to tell us a bit how you. Now, this is going to be. I don't want this to sound cheesy. I don't want to say how you feeling, but tell me what you remember being in the back seat that night with your mom and daddy.
Nothing much, really. I mean, Daddy came in the room, got me up, and I could tell on his face something was wrong. And his first words was, "Get up, we have to go to Statesboro. Garron's been shot in the face." And I get up, I don't know what to think.
Mm-hmm. How old were you then?
16.
You're 16?
Yeah. Okay. And so I get ready, I get in the truck, and we're going from there. And the first thing I did was text my baseball group chat, asking them to pray for us, told them what was going on, and I get a text from Garron, one of Garron's best friends, or Darren Hembry, his son, and he asked if something happened to Garron. I said he's been shot in the face. That was the only thing I could tell people.
Yeah.
And when we first found out, I couldn't get him on the phone, and so I called my best friend, Hardin Reese, and he was the first person I told. And then after we get up and get in the hotel, I was the only one that was able to go to sleep. I was the only person that was able to sleep that whole week. And
Mama prayed that he would sleep.
Yeah.
And we had a baseball game that Saturday. It was a makeup game because our season was coming to an end. And I text my coach and was like, "I don't know if you've heard, but I won't be at the game today." And he called me and made sure I knew if I needed anything to call him or anybody on the team, and that they were there for me. And I finally got Hayden on the phone and told him, and it kind of hurt me that I was the one that had to tell him. And another thing I've had a really hard time with is his truck messed up, so he drove my truck to Statesboro, and he had his AR and his pistol in his truck, and he didn't want nobody getting in his truck and messing with it, so he got them out and put them in my truck. And I kind of thought, what if I would have took the pistol out?
Mm-hmm.
And that's been hard on me, knowing the gun wasn't in there until the night before. And that's...
But we tell him that we can go down that road all day long with what
you can go down 4 or 5 other roads.
Mm-hmm.
That
would have, should have, could have.
I mean,
done
you know, he was 19 years old. And I'm sure you remember back when you were 19 years old. I know I do. I wasn't.
I give you a story to tell till I was 30.
Yeah. I'm just saying, 19-year-old.
19
he was no saint.
No.
He was making stupid decisions. You know, I wasn't, you know, I tried to be somewhat of a friend to my boys, but I'm the daddy first.
Mm-hmm.
And I told them as young teenagers, there's nothing you could do that I won't know it.
Mm-hmm.
And just like I tell them, when I ask you a question, 9 times out of 10, I already know the answer.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and I mean, Garron, they was country boys. They were doing things that you know, country boys at 19 years old do. And I talked with them about it, and I stress it's not a good way to go. And for the most part, them boys were pretty respectful and
mm-hmm.
and you know, knew right from wrong. But at 19, 30, 45, 50, you make questionable decisions. And
But I've told Davis, and I believe this from the bottom of my heart, it even talks about it in the Bible, is God has a plan. He's got He knows the beginning. He knew this was going to happen
before you gave him the truck, your truck keys.
That's right.
And the end. Yeah. And I don't believe there's anything we could have done to prevent this because God is in control.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to understand why this is part of his plan, but I just have to trust that he knows better than I do.
And I mean, I've been around Garron with that same gun. Me and his buddies around a fire or something, he'll get it out. The first thing he does is drop the clip and rack it. And he usually puts the clip somewhere.
I mean,
not close.
You know, you're talking about, you know, if you'd have told him, no, just keep the truck or keep the guns here, I'll make somebody bother them. I bought him the pistol.
Yeah.
So there's just lots of emotions.
And, but it, you know, I've read and listened to several guys, and I have tried to make sense with all this through a biblical view. And Joby Martin, pastor I listened to, he made a comment the other day that, you know, you get these non-believers say, why do bad things happen to good people? And one perspective he said was, it's collateral damage from sin in the world. That made a lot of sense too.
Yeah, that and one thing you can't, the human side of us, we have free will.
Yeah,
right.
You know, we know right from wrong.
That's right.
You know, and so and it wasn't like God had planned that out or orchestrated that.
Right.
For him to go through, or for you guys as a married couple to go through, or for you as a sibling to go through, it's just part of y'all's story now.
Yeah.
Right.
So, tell me about this foundation that you guys started. Is this started from your immediate family?
Yes, it did. We within just a few days, I told Garrett I wanted to do a scholarship. Like, I wasn't able to think about anything, but I wanted to do a scholarship. He said, yeah, I thought about that too. So as the days rock on, I think it was about a week later, I said, you know, I don't want to do just a scholarship. Garron was more than just a scholarship. We had so many strangers, people that we knew of, but we didn't know that were his age, that reached out to us about how he helped them through a hard time. Like, his thing was,
this is the other side of your children you don't know when they're not at home.
Exactly. So his motto in life was trust God's will. Like, a girl that he helped had a ring made that says God's will. And he had a friend that was going through a hard time. He had met this guy through school, but he worked at Subway, and Garron ate at Subway just about every day, so he could go see Big Bird and hang out. And he had been through a really hard time and was talking about ending it. And he reached out to me after this happened and said, you have no idea, but Garron saved my life. Like, he told me that God had a purpose for my life.
He still reaches out to us.
Really?
And that he has a plan. Garron got a baseball scholarship to play ball on his own. We found out the day before we were going to sign the lease on his apartment that he had to have surgery. And I was devastated because since he was 5 years old, he wanted to pitch in college. And he himself had made this dream of his come true. And I felt like it was being ripped away. And he was 6'5". He towered over me, and we were in the kitchen. And he put his hands on my shoulder, so he's like this to me. And he said, Mama, what have you told me my whole life? I said, I don't know. I've told you a bunch of stuff, Garron. He said, you've always told me that God has a plan for me, and we have to trust his plan. Well, now I see why he had that surgery. God gave us 8 more months with him at home. So his heart was more than just a scholarship. He was a helper. He was kind. So I said, I think we should start like an organization. So we rocked on for a couple of days, and we came up with the name Garron's Grace Wins because we wanted GW, his initials, to be part of it. So we looked at going through the baseball program, and we looked at going through the high school. But if you go under a nonprofit, they're kind of in control of,
Yeah, Recovery Vow is a nonprofit.
Where it goes, yeah. So
if we'd have went through baseball, anything would have had to go to baseball.
Right. And I said, Garron, baseball was a huge part of his life, but he was more than a baseball player. Mm-hmm. So on April the 30th, now he passed away on March 28th, so this rolled very quickly. On April the 30th, Garron's Grace Wins nonprofit was established and incorporated. And we have given out $13,000 in scholarships.
Now, how do you pick the students you're giving it to, and do they have to use it or be baseball players or anything like that?
No. This first group, because Garron just graduated last year, so this first group of kids we selected on our own, it was his best friends. We will eventually have a process where you apply and, not us picking on a bias level, I guess you can say, but we knew that we wanted the pallbearers to have something. Chandler that did CPR, we wanted to do something for her. His girlfriend Ada, we wanted to do something for her. Our niece was a recipient, but we've given out.
We even did past graduates that was friends with him.
That are in college.
That are in college already.
So we've given out 10 Chromebooks.
Wow.
We've done a lot already through this foundation.
And the money does not have to go toward a certain, one of them, he chose not to go to college. He had his own little business. So
it's like Garrett way helping him.
That's
exactly,
right.
Exactly.
And whatever he chose to do.
That's right.
Right.
I love that.
And Garron, I don't think he even realized it, but he was the hands and feet of Jesus. Like, he helped people. There was over 1,200 people that came through the visitation. We had his service at Heritage Church, which was the big church that we used to attend because that was the only place that would hold everybody. And I heard that there was people standing up in there. Like, he had such a huge impact on people. And this foundation is our way of keeping his name alive and his legacy alive. And our kind of motto is to be the hands and feet of Jesus and meet needs. It could be medical bill needs. It could be, there's been a couple of children that have passed away in our hometown. We've helped with funeral expenses and things like that.
We're going to run our ministries through it. We want to do a joint like youth. She wants to do a women's thing. I want me and my guys to run our ministry for these young boys through it.
Yeah. If Recovery Vow Collective can help with anything, any of you guys come through that have an issue, we'd love to help.
Yeah, through all of this, that we're not promised tomorrow. I knew that, but I don't think you realize it until...
It's a keychain catchphrase until you live it.
You lose your 19-year-old child. Like, we all assume we're going to graduate, we're going to go to college, we're going to get married, we're going to have family, we're going to live to be old, we're going to bury our parents. Like, parents never expect to have to bury their child. So, salvation is important. Like, I just want to say, if there's anybody that don't know the Lord, like, this time is of essence. Yeah. And it's very important.
One thing that you mentioned about Garron, let me ask you this. Where did the name Garron come from?
Out of a baby book.
Out of a baby book?
Yes. His daddy has a G. Joe name. Garrett is Garrett Joe, so we wanted a G. Joe for Garron.
Okay.
So we were in Walmart one night. We couldn't agree on any names. And I was just flipping through, and I said, Garron. He said, yep, I like it. And so there came the name.
Yeah. Well, I love that. I knew that's just not a common name.
Right.
So, but I do, before we close, I have to talk about what sparked me to reach out to you was when Kristen, my wife, sent me that video. We had just went through this exact same thing with her first cousin, Natalie, who's married to a guy named Jeremy.
Yeah.
And I was like, as soon as she sent me your video that went viral on TikTok, I said, send me her information. And I wasn't going to tell her what I was going to do, but I was going to reach out to you only to connect you with Natalie at first. But then I said, no, I need to connect you with the world. And Natalie will be a part of that world, because Natalie is still fresh in that loss. She's still dealing with all the things, and she does really good. Jeremy does really good. And their older son, William, was there with Carter when his accident happened with a pistol.
Well, so that's what I didn't remember if he had a sibling or not.
He's got two. He's got a little sister, and then he's got a little brother. And I think his brother was at home with him when he was, but he was on the gun club. So I mean, he was not just not knowing what he was doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was a free will thing.
That's right.
Accident. Yeah. But I thought it was so. I thought it was so cool that y'all's stories were that similar to each other, and then come to find out, you guys kind of know each other through, friends and family and mutual stuff.
Right.
And so you guys have now connected and that. And I think the biggest thing, my wife, she texted me. It just went off. I bet it was my wife. But she texted me like, you got to say these things. And I already knew these things. I just didn't want to tell her to give her I know you're right, but I know what I'm doing. But I had to say that, we went to the hospital the night that we got the call. We were at dinner, and we got a call that there was an accident. And the guy that called, I called him back, and I said, look, I just need you to go ahead and tell me how bad is this accident so that I can prepare for the family that I got on this side.
That's right.
And he said, it's not good. He didn't make it. I said, okay, that's what I needed to hear. So we got down to the hospital, and Kristen, I was able to tell my wife what she was about to walk into. And I've seen all three of you guys get upset when you had to talk about delivering that information to someone. It's important on who you are and who's receiving that information from who. But walking into the hospital at night, we were able, because someone was transparent enough to just tell us what we needed to hear, we could go in there and be support for them. And they were lost. I mean, I remember taking my hat off and throwing it on the ground, and I looked at Jeremy with these big eyes, and the only thing he said was that he said, my son went to be with the Lord today. And I was like, well, I'll never forget that as long as I live. And that was his way of telling me
he was gone. He
was gone, but he wasn't mad. He wasn't happy. And then the next day was very fresh, day one. Starting over.
Right.
And I went to their house, and just like you said, there's a slew of people that come through, and if you never want to miss a meal, go to somebody's house after something like that happens. I mean, there's food out everywhere. But Jeremy brought me upstairs, and I had only been in their house like one other time upstairs, and he said, I want to show you Carter's room. And I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready for it. And Carter, just like Garron, touched a lot of people's lives in the amount of time they had here, but in good ways, just by being themselves, just like you just said. But I looked at his room, and I was like, there ain't no way an 18, 19-year-old boy lives in this room. He had a post-it notes on his door in the shape of a cross with different scriptures and people he was praying for. Wow. I work at a church, and I barely make enough notes out of my Bible once a week. And this kid's got it listed. Yeah. He had a desk that was in the dormer of a window, and his gun rack was behind him. And he had his Bible laid open, like you knew that's where he sat at in the morning times, and that's where he sat at night times, and he read his Bible. He had Post-it notes on the wall in front of him with people's names on it. And then in a notebook, I mean, how he was going to pray, not just about what he was going to pray, but just how he had articulated it. It spoke volumes to me of how impactful we can be for children. I've got two different boys at home, and I've raised them the exact same way. One's gone this way, and one's gone this way for right now, but it's temporary. Yeah. But it's impactful that they figure themselves out in that free will state that we'll all deal with. But these accidents can happen.
They can.
Yep. Now, the other big point that I wanted to bring you on this podcast for was when we're in recovery. Mm-hmm. You guys are now in some kind of recovery.
That's right.
But you also made a commitment to yourself and to each other. You made a vow.
Yeah.
At any point after that accident, or at any point up till today, did you guys sit down and what words did you say? Or do you remember where you were when you knew that, or maybe it's your relationship was already this strong, that you had to have a conversation about your marriage? Because I'd imagine some marriages go under strain when these kind of things happen. And I could be
after
wrong.
The phone call.
When we pulled over that night on the side of the road, and we all, because Davis was sitting behind me, I was trying to like touch him in some way. You know, I was trying to touch Garrett. We were looking for a place to pull over, and again, I don't remember a lot of details, but I do remember this specifically. The divorce rate is high for people who have lost a child. How I know that statistic, I don't know, but I knew that before this even happened.
Do you remember if it was over 50%?
Yes, it's like 95 or 90. Like
it's the same thing with addiction.
Yes, it is astronomical. And I remember when we all got out of the truck and we were all embraced, I said, we have to stay together through this. And I looked at Garrett and I said, the odds are against us. We're already one statistic. The odds are against us. We cannot let Satan win. And there's been time, like, our grief is totally different. And I can see, I mean, we've had a tough conversation 2 weeks ago.
Yep, 2 weeks ago.
Not like about ending our marriage or anything, but just my grief has been totally different. And sometimes I've questioned my faith, like, am I really? Because it's 6 months in and I'm still not okay, but there is no timeline.
A mom's love and connection with the kid is
especially with a son.
Right.
Is
be different.
Right.
And, you know, I look at it, and that's what I tell my guys and the young men. Garron lived 19 great years. The rest of his life, from 19 on, he would experience a lot of bad things in this world. Marriage problems, if you got married. Job problems. Financial problems. Dealing with grown-up stuff in this crazy world. He missed all that. And it's hard to say this, but I'm thankful for that. Because I know it's been hard on our parents seeing us struggle. And you don't want to see your child struggle.
No, you don't.
And, you know, I could tell her how I'm handling this, what I go to, who I talk to. Might not work for her.
Yeah. No, it shouldn't. You're a totally different person.
Yeah.
And I did seek out a Christian Christian therapist that I've been seeing for a while now. And she told me, she said, you've got a decision to make. You've got to decide, are you going to die with Garron? Or are you going to live for him and for you and for your family? And that was really impactful because I've been there for Davis, but I feel like looking back now, I was going through the motions for Davis. But the last 2 weeks, since she put it to me that way, have been a lot better for me. And, of course, with prayer. And
one little thing that she may not feel like she's fulfilling her wife duty or her mother duty or whatever, that was starting to weigh on her. Cause
I was struggling with that for sure.
And she talked to me about it. I said, listen, I don't care. All that junk right there is nothing compared to us just being here for each other. You just got to let me know what I need to be here for, what I need to pray for.
Yeah.
And I think that was on the 6 month mark when all of this kind of came out.
Sunday evening.
And honestly, I don't think we've really had that kind of conversation since this happened. So I think that was a lot of it too. You know, like, I don't want to put my grief on other people. He didn't want to put his grief on me, but like we were able to just sit down, cry, and just get it all out.
Well, and I hope being here today gives you guys a little bit
Yes.
more freedom to have those conversations.
Right.
And like I told her, I said, this is something.
Because this is completely different
Yeah.
than what a lot of people would do at 6 months.
Well,
Yeah.
I told her that night when we was talking, I said, this is something I've told myself over and over again to help me get through it. I said, it might not you. I said, but it's probably going to be the harshest thing I'm going to tell you. He's gone. Mm-hmm. There's no amount of crying, no amount, you can yell at God, you could praise God, you can do whatever. Nothing we do is going to bring him back. So we can run to him or run from him.
Mm-hmm. It's going to feel better running to him.
And I've lived without him. It wasn't great. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to live for him.
I love that. What, as we kind of close up, I want to make sure that you've got Natalie's number and you've got Jeremy's number.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have William's number?
They haven't connected yet.
Yeah, William, you and William need to connect. Just that's you guys got more than just one thing in common.
They're in
Right.
that club too.
Yeah, yeah. I just think it's important for you to surround yourself with people like that. But I want to say I am so proud of each and every one of you for saying yes to coming all the way to Dallas to do this. Don't look at it as like you just shared with the world the trouble you've had to go through. You shared with the world what you've done because of your son Garron.
That's right.
and what he's done because of you. Garron, if you guys started scholarships, you've started now legacies. So legacies will change because of Garron, and that's a lot of people that'd be 100 won't make that lasting impact. So you guys got to be really proud.
Our foundation is Garron's Grace Wins, but then like our little slogan is Leave a Legacy.
Yeah. That's how I got into this. I prayed during 21 days of prayer. Lord, I just want to leave a legacy one day. What kind of legacy am I going to leave?
Right.
With a story like mine, what can I do to change somebody's life? What can I do? And that's how I got into this book. That's how I got into this podcast studio. That's how I got to sit here on this chair with you guys.
Our mission is to spread the word of God, bring others to Jesus, and love like Garron.
Yeah. Well, I'm very proud. I am very honored to have you guys come by the Recovery Vow Podcast and share what different kinds of recovery looks like.